Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Today. I'm Charles.
And I'm Justin. Good to see you. Welcome back to this lovely evening we're having here on Crypto Today.
Yes, it's a fantastic evening.
It's coffee
outside
hour
as
is what
well.
it is.
Yeah.
I haven't had coffee on here in like 18 years.
Just about to say that. Normally I drink like sparkling water or just water or nothing.
It's not hot enough. That's weird. Normally it'll burn me as soon as, like, it's tradition for me to get burned at least twice for my coffee.
I used your pouring technique.
Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I noticed that it's.
Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah. So normally what Justin does is when he pours coffee, he'll put the cup down low and then put the pot high, and he'll pour the pot into the coffee cup, and then he'll pour the coffee into the coffee.
Makes it immediately drinkable. It is then not scalding hot, but also not cold or lukewarm. And it's especially effective at Yeti cups because those will not let it cool off ever. So you got to start with the temperature you want.
Yeah, because if you put hell in a Yeti cup, that shit would never cool down.
Thinking about this logistically.
Yeah.
Isn't that supposed to never cool down?
I don't know, man.
Oh, wait, it could freeze over. If you put it in a Yeti cup, it can't freeze over. Yes, we did it, guys. We solved the conundrum.
Awesome.
Let's jump into the prices real quick and see what's going on in the world of volatility. We've got Bitcoin sitting in first place at $4,905.24. It's currently down 3.81% on the 24-hour period. We have Ethereum in second place at $157.74, down 5.8% on the 24-hour period, and XRP in third place at 0.332594, which is currently down 5.54% on the 24-hour period. Our biggest mover in the top 50, I believe, is... may not actually have to say that. No, it looks like it is IOST, which is in 42nd place. Actually, no, by one point. So MXM is in 49th place, barely cutting into the fold, and is at 0.08948650, up 14.48%, beating out that IOST I was about to mention by 2%, which beat out Dogecoin by 3%.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Doge almost got the
So
moment in the
close.
limelight.
I mean,
Yeah.
it already had its moment in the
They're about
limelight
9%.
because of Elon Musk recently.
Oh, I was going to say like a long time ago when it blew up. It had like sponsored a NASCAR and everything.
Oh, my God, dude. That was
That
amazing.
was 2015,
I thought
maybe?
that was
Something
Photoshop
like
first time I saw it. Not gonna lie.
that. Yeah, no. That was one of those cool little community projects that came out of nowhere.
Kimberly, you're right. It did skyrocket and go back down, but
Yeah.
not as much as like what we normally would
I
see.
don't know if I would so much call this one going back down as a consolidation. We don't know as of yet if it's going straight back into its bear tumble. Because right now we're still sitting up in the 4,900 range, which is a little bit of a support that we set up. We tested that 5,300, which was a very strong resistance level. As soon as we hit that, it bounced us off pretty hard, and then we immediately went for just under 5,000. Now we've been bouncing up against that 5,000.
Do we have to go below like
bit.
4,200-ish or whatever to actually see any significant like indicator of maybe we're not going to be staying around here? I think that's where the next like floor is. I think there's two other levels before that we can.
Yeah,
test, but
my
4,200 is the
opinion, we'd
lowest.
probably be looking at like if we get to and maintain for any length of time, like a 1 day period or something, what I'd be looking for anyway is like 46.
Yeah.
If we hit that and we maintain that for any given amount of time, then I suspect that'll be a pretty clear indication for me that we're retrending that bear trend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like positive and not positive news. Like if you read normal news sources, they'll be like, "Hey, look, that Bitcoin thing, don't worry about it. Like it went up and it's just nobody knows why, Yeah. And then you got like some crypto news sources that are like, "Oh, it's going back down."
Yeah.
It's on its way back down, and don't worry about it kind of situation. But then again, it's like people don't necessarily want it to go back down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So maybe they'll speak with their money and make it
so
stay up.
I think a part of the reason we're seeing mixed feelings about that as far as like a news cycle goes is because normally when we see these drastic movements, they have some easily attributable occurrence that you can point to, and they always do that. It's always Mt. Gox caused this caused that, this caused that. It ignores the complication that is the actual market, but that's normally what they do. In this case, even whenever we were looking at the positive articles that were coming out as the price was going up saying, hey, it's back or whatever, just about every article was in some way pointing to, we have no idea what's going on. They pretty much all opened with that.
Yep.
And so that puts it in an interesting scenario because they're reactive. They're not proactive. And we just started really doing this retracement over the last like 24 hours. And so they're still in the situation where they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I think they're kind of compounding their confusion because it's two unknown events, because this also doesn't have an indicator as to why it happened.
Yeah.
Any more so than maybe it gives us some information about why the first one happened, if maybe it was just another kind of exuberant movement that wasn't necessarily naturally inclined, that it maybe shouldn't have done what it did. It could give us some tiny bits of evidence to that, but doesn't really give us a whole lot to work off of. And I think that they're probably getting a little bit uncomfortable with saying about everything, we don't know. We don't know. It's going up. I don't know. It's going down. I don't know.
Okay, so that's weird because they keep saying it. So are they getting uncomfortable or are they getting comfortable with saying it?
I think
they're getting uncomfortable with the idea.
Well, I think they're getting uncomfortable with how many times in a row they have to say it.
That's true.
Because I think people will stop trusting them. Even though in my eyes it's kind of the opposite. I trust you more if you tell me I don't know, because that is almost always the right answer for a lot of things. It's the best answer I think somebody could give. They don't know the answer, because that at least sets you up for learning something. But like I think a lot of people would see it as, if they're saying, well, it's going up, I don't know why. Okay, it's going down, I don't know why. It's like, well, what good is this for me? What are they actually? Yeah, they don't understand what's going on. They're just here to tell me what I can see by looking at a chart in 5 seconds.
Just keep in mind, all media sources exist to, one, I guess, report good news, and two, well, actually, I should flip these. One, make money, and two, report good news. So it's like. Yeah. And I'm not talking like the good news, like, people come to your door, they invite you to church good news, which
that hits close to home.
It's happened to me twice in 1 week, dude. I'm like, come on, like.
Which is funny, yeah. I lived in the same area for 7 years as where you live now, and I never had it happen once. Yeah. And you moved there in twice in
1 week. Within a week. So about this time last week, it was like 2 teenagers or whatever doing their thing, and then today it was 2 older ladies doing their thing, and I was like, okay.
Didn't you have a lady that did it too? Just a single lady one time? You showed me a picture of it, I think. It was on your doorbell cam.
Oh my gosh.
Did you have 3?
Yeah. That's 3 in like the last year, yeah.
That's crazy.
They must have opened up a new church.
Yeah, something's going on. For some reason they're focusing on that area now. That's interesting.
Maybe they looked at the demographics and they're like, they're worthy.
Yeah, they saw me and they're like, let's just skip that house. Yeah. We're not going there. That's scary territory.
This guy actually mows his lawn. I'm just kidding. Right now it is not mowed, and the only reason it isn't is because I had to charge the batteries to my lawnmower.
You need to get an extension cord. Just charge it while you're mowing. My brother actually had that. They do have plug-in lawnmowers, but he got it for extremely cheap because he bought it broken, because the guy that had it mowed over the cord. So I just cut it in half.
That's awesome. So
I guess that's a downside.
Electrical taped it and good to go?
No, he was going to splice it and do all that. I don't know if he ever actually fixed it or ended up getting rid of it. He likes to take on a lot of the kind of handiwork projects kind of stuff, which, I mean, that's something pretty simple to fix. But whether or not you trust yourself with that, because it's a lot.
I went in my attic and just spliced up a bunch of networking cables to make stuff work. So
yeah,
I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've done electrical work on my car before. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
it's exciting. I'm like this close to hiring a company to come do my lawn, but yeah. Just because of the weeds.
You were actually at my house the other day when I got kind of tricked by there you go. We'll be more specific. Tricked by a guy, because I have a service that comes out that does pest treatment basically, and they come out once a quarter. And they happened to have come out yesterday, and while he was out doing his stuff, he rang my doorbell when he got there and stuff, and while he was out doing his stuff, somebody rang the doorbell again. I didn't see anybody right outside my door, and so I opened it to look, because I figured maybe he just accidentally hit the button or something and then walked off. And no, it was some guy that was trying to sell me a lawn mowing service and stuff. So He was like, yeah, so we'll take care of this for you. You got a little bit of rot there and stuff. It's like, well, I really enjoy doing this myself. And I'm about to tear up all that stuff that's in there and just replace it and do all new like flowers.
It was so
and
funny because it's like
stuff.
I knew when I heard it was his fallback because I mean like I'm a pretty good sales guy, so it's like, or in a past life, right? So his first was like, yeah, I'm sure you hate doing this, like before you, and just like, I love doing this.
Yeah, no,
he's like, well, just FYI, you've got some like fungus growing on your bushes, and Justin's like, I'm about to replace every single bush.
Yeah.
In my entire
and then he fell back on.
Like,
then he fell back on mosquito services, which A is what the first guy was already there for, like one of many things that he does kind of treat for. Yeah. Second, or B, is that he would only treat my little yard, and I live next to like basically a creek. That's going to do nothing because mosquitoes lay eggs in stagnant water, which is going to have a whole lot in that creek next door, next to my house,
job.
and nothing in my yard. Yeah, but it's also, I mean, it's like a water runoff area.
It's like treating the symptoms and not the problem.
Right. And well, even the symptoms, like how much is it really going to help? Because they're just going to fly over from the creek, suck our blood, and then fly back to the creek.
So really what you're saying is,
how are they going to kill that?
Indoors.
Basically, he was just like, will you please just give me money?
Yeah, basically.
Come on, man. I just really want your money.
I really need a sale today, I guess.
Yeah.
This is basically what
it was. Yeah, it was quite annoying. But it was made more annoying by the fact that I wouldn't have opened the door if I didn't think it was the other guy. I never opened the door for that. I need to get a no solicitation.
Funny. But the thing is like when you said, "Oh, I think he accidentally rang the doorbell," I looked in the backyard and I was like, "What is he talking about?"
Yeah,
like, the dude's treating right there. Why would you be? This is a different person.
Yeah,
I was like,
whatever. Looking out there whenever it rang.
Like, I just ordered pizza or something because we were about to go eat lunch. But whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's cover a few things. First,
now that we told them everything about our lives.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fun stuff. So first thing I want to cover is actually also about our lives, and it's a little bit of a cool bit of information that I ran into yesterday. So if you've been around for a long time, like a lot of our badasses like JC and
Ralph,
Terry, and Terry, and Dave,
Joe,
tons of people. So if you've been around for a long time, you probably remember that our first advert that we did before we stopped doing any kind of monetization on the show was for Pay with Zcash. That was about a year ago. I think it was like last March. I'm pretty sure is what I saw. And they kind of reached out to me and we were talking and stuff. And you pointed out that whenever we did that advert, they had 13 stores and charities, I guess, on their site.
Yes.
Now they have 242.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That's really impressive.
That is so impressive.
Yeah.
Good job, Pay with Zcash.
Plus, they got the, I don't know if you'd call it really a sponsorship so much as like funding, I guess, from the Zcash. Yeah.
To make their website better and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they've accomplished a lot in a very short time. So good going, guys.
Solid.
Yeah. That's pretty much that one. Do you have anything you want to cover as more crypto related? Because I've got something that I could pull us into that we probably won't come out from for a while. It's a little bit aggravating. So.
Yeah, I do have something. I have this newsletter I read or whatever it's called, The Morning Brew, and it's like a newer company. They really, really good newsletter. If you guys want like my referral code, we can put it up on the Twitter. It's really like,
that's why you sent it to me. That's why you texted to me.
I was up front with
You're like, hey, if you just feel like getting this newsletter, here's a link to it.
There's no monetary incentive. It's just literally like a number at the bottom.
Okay,
you get like
link?
a coffee mug.
All right, there it is. There it is.
Kind of want the coffee mug. I drink a lot of coffee. It'd be nice to have the morning brew mug while reading the morning brew. Okay.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, so one of the topics really stood out to me, and it was the adventure beyond venture capital. Andreessen Horowitz recently announced that they're going to be not a VC firm anymore. So for those of you who don't know what a VC firm is, it's a venture capital firm which typically invests in like early stage companies with like either seed or like Series A, Series B funding and stuff like that. But typically because of the regulations placed on them, they can't invest in like, I guess, secondary market type stuff. I don't know all the details because I'm not a lawyer, right? But basically, Andreessen Horowitz is really, really good at finding like unicorns in the valley. And so like some of the companies or whatever that they've recently invested in are Airbnb, PagerDuty, Pinterest, Slack, Lyft, companies like that. So really, really good companies that have been successful. They're actually shifting their mission in a way, not their mission so much as how they're going to be accomplishing their mission. They're going to become a registered investment advisor, or IRA. And you may ask why. Well, the Morning Brew answers this question. They say that they actually want to look at betting on crypto. In order to do that, they have to be this kind of organization. And it's funny. So I'm basically just going to read what the Morning Brew says about it, and it's really cool. So from them, they say, you say crypto's a bubble. Andreessen Horowitz says that this feels like the early days of the internet. Painfully slow, but you might meet a cool Estonian in a chat room. The firm would like to invest more in crypto, but as a traditional VC, regulators limit its ability to make riskier bets. So they're actually looking at investing in crypto stuff, and that's one of the reasons they're changing the organization.
So when you say that, are we talking about the underlying cryptocurrencies more?
Yes.
Okay, so they're trying to get out of the kind of second level investing in the companies and getting specifically into the assets that are the cryptos.
Mm-hmm. And because since a lot of like startups or whatever are staying private longer, they don't want to miss out on those opportunities. So that's one of those.
One of the interesting things to me is that they're effectively, it sounds like, betting the company on it, because what they're not doing is setting up a business entity as a subsidiary of their existing business that would specialize in this.
Yeah.
What they're doing is taking their entire company and reorganizing it into a company that can do this. So that's, to me, that's really interesting. That just knowing that there's different possibilities of how they could go about it tells you a little bit about how serious they really are on it.
You know what? I just read Mr. Horowitz's book recently. I'm gonna have to look it up real quick. But while I'm looking this up, they themselves as a VC firm are completely different than most VC firms because they take bigger risks and they kind of pave the way for what VC firms are doing now. And Ben Horowitz wrote the book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It's a really good book if you haven't read it. And it's like his journey into doing what he's been doing. And basically there was a moment in his life where a dude took a chance on him and he ended up being super wildly successful with his software company and all that stuff, and then ended up selling and all that stuff. And now they have this VC firm, him and his partner, that he met while doing that software stuff. And it's been a great journey and ride, but they've been able to identify like key factors in companies that have really allowed these companies to be successful. And he kind of goes over that in his book, is like what they look for in a company. Like, and, you know, is it best for a company to come in and acquire a company? If so, do you have like the leadership of the company stay? Do you have the leadership of the, you know, the company that you just bought leave? Like, how do you do that kind of stuff? And so he goes over that kind of stuff. His book's really good, but their approach to things is just different. And so I think that's what they're doing here is, one, they know that crypto is a big deal, right? And that essentially we do need a better monetary system and how we, I guess, handle day-to-day transactions and, you know, the exchange of goods and services and all that kind of stuff. Like that could be more efficient. That could be more transparent. It could be just better and all, and just less cumbersome. And so they've identified that, and now they're changing their organization and really taking a bet on it. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah. For me, one of the questions would be
Rust wipe day.
What are the things that they've seen change? Because they've been heavily in crypto for a long time. I think the first time I started seeing their names dropped as far as looking into or investing in companies was back in probably the 2014-ish era, somewhere around there, 2013. So they've been here for a long time. They've been investing in companies that are in the crypto space for a long time, and they've kind of really taken that and run off with it because that became a pretty big, considerable part of their portfolio in general. They put a lot of interest into it. I can only imagine. I mean, there is going to be some restrictions that come from the difficulty that and the risk associated with changing the entirety of your business model, changing your platform, and going to a completely new approach. So maybe they just cognitively weren't ready for that yet.
Yeah.
But they may have also simply not trusted the underlying assets that existed enough yet.
Needed to be proved more.
Yeah, because actually, and one of the things that they've invested in before was approaches to effectively stable coins.
Yes.
And when I mean that, I don't necessarily mean like Tether, where it's just $1 to $1, but so much as like a cryptocurrency solutions that were designed to find stability based off of tying itself to different market values, commodities, and just having different implementations in it and in its like governance structure and everything that caused it a level of stability, in hypothetically anyway. So they've been investing in those, and I wonder if at some point they've just kind of learned or come to find that the existing cryptocurrencies that are out there that they have access to bet on are better bets than the companies that they were having come forward to them.
Well, okay.
In and of themselves.
I'm going to address that in a second, but I do want to acknowledge Ralph that I will be reading that article. Apparently, he just posted an article.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So probably right in that era. So yeah, Ralph came in because of that. That's cool.
So Andreessen apparently got him into crypto in 2014 because of that article.
That's cool.
I'm going to go back and read it. But to address what you just said, one thing is, we kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday, but the software market is inundated with subscription-based models, right? So how many more of those can you really get that are really going to be able to break out and get a lot of market share and stuff like that? Okay, so that's one thing that they probably noticed. Two, the companies approaching them were taking advantage of like one of those hype moments where you get a lot of, people using the word blockchain, people using the word crypto, and then suddenly they're funded, right? They don't really know what they're doing, but they're like, we can probably do something with this because we're here, we have a plan, we're sitting in front of you, and you need to spend dollars, right? So they're looking more towards probably the crypto itself because it's, and I'm not saying all of them, right? Probably the truly decentralized ones and stuff like that, the ones that really stand out would be my guess, but I don't know. I don't know their game plan. But they're looking at those as more like solid bets because those have been around for years, right? So you have those, and then companies come and go, but those have withstood the test of the last 10 years, the last 8 years, depending on when they were created. So that's different. And in order to, I guess, enact what they're doing, they're actually going to be, they announced a new growth fund that's going to be between $2 and $2.5 billion. And they're going to start fundraising for that in the next couple weeks. So
I think it doesn't necessarily have too much to do with them specifically, but I think it would be interesting to sit down and go through a thought experiment on what are the pros and cons of between investing in a company in the crypto space versus the cryptocurrency. The traditional approach going in was, for major institutions specifically, was through companies, because that was more of traditional. That was, whenever the internet was around, your only option was invest in the companies because there wasn't an underlying asset layer that you could own, that you could bet on. So it's a new thing that people have to really understand.
Well, because if you're doing it with like oil as an example, you have to store that. That's inventory management. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. And like with companies, you have so many different variables associated with it. Like, so it's always difficult to pick the winning company, but you also, whether it's a company or the currency, you have to pick the winning one, because there's a significant number of cryptocurrencies that may or may not succeed. Same thing for the companies that come out. The currencies do have the benefit of having existed already for longer than most of the companies that are out there. There's so many gives and takes between investing in one over the other. It's kind of I think it'd be a really fun just thought experiment to go through and try to figure out kind of what is really involved and what are you risking and gaining from going through an actual business approach as opposed to the underlying currency. Because I think that the underlying currency at this point is largely going to be your better bet, because if you go through a company, in many cases they're built on a specific chain, on a specific technology. So not only are you betting that chain's going to exist, you're not, because if you're betting on a company that is built on, say, BTC, then you're not getting away from the fact that you're having to make a bet that BTC is going to win out of the cryptocurrencies. you're just adding an extra layer to it, saying not only is BTC going to be the one that survives, but this company on BTC is going to be the company that people want to use and that survives and manages to monetize and doesn't get screwed over by the team. And you just go on this huge list of just different variables that compound the likelihood of failure onto it. So I feel like
some of those
right,
out of your control.
I suspect that a lot of that is really why they're moving towards the underlying asset, mixed in with the kind of change in political atmosphere, the increase of regulatory clarity and all of that kind of stuff on the base asset itself. But it would be fascinating to have a conversation with them.
So to get around that, one of the things you can do, and it's something Header Hashgraph is doing, is they're creating their own tech, and they're also their own company that's building on top of it and encouraging more development on top of that as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like you almost have to own the underlying asset.
Which is what they were doing with like their stable coin investments and stuff like that. That would have been its own chain and solution and all that. And that is what they kind of tended towards.
They probably understood that.
Yeah, because I mean, they want the big gains. They want the big companies. That's what venture capital is. You want something that's going to return you 10,000, 100,000% on your investment, just like anybody getting into cryptocurrency. That's what they're looking for.
Interesting you mentioned that.
Are we talking about what I think we're talking about?
We don't have to, but it's funny that you mentioned that. You and I kind of talked about it earlier, but yeah. What was it? There was something else that was key to that. I'll come back to it anyway.
Well, I wanted to jump into another cryptocurrency thing. Yeah. Well, two other cryptocurrency things actually before we jumped into what I think you were trying to lean towards.
To segue into.
Yeah, because I think that kind of takes us back out of the realm of just cryptocurrency talk. Yeah. So I want to make sure we cover this stuff first, and then we can just kind of ramble on about whatever is on our minds. So first, there's an interesting article that it's mildly interesting. It's newsbtc.com, and they titled it "Crypto Legend Bashes Litecoin After Rally Near $100."
Oh, I didn't
buy
read that
Bitcoin
one.
Instead.
Who is it?
Michael Novogratz. Sorry. So he tweeted practically all of like crypto news is like, this guy tweeted this, this guy tweeted that. But he says gold has an $8.5 trillion market cap. Silver is $15 billion. That is 0.17%. Bitcoin has a $90 billion market cap. Litecoin is $5.7 billion, which is 6.4% of BTC. Silver is at least useful for industrial production. LTC is a glorified test net for BTC. I don't get this rally. Sell LTC, buy BTC. So first off, I would say kind of the sarcastic, obvious, how could you not get that rally?
Yeah.
It's the entire market was going up. Some things were more oversold than others, and some things have lower market capitalization than others. So lower amounts of money going into it affect a larger percentage increase in that time frame. Pretty elementary, so that's easy to understand why the percentage-wise, the price would go up more than BTC in that case.
Yeah, I mean, he literally just mentioned the market caps, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was talking about
the
as far as like the percentages, the total market caps and what the percentage is to its kind of like big brother asset. Yeah. So getting past that, because he has to know that obviously, and that's low hanging fruit. But it's interesting from kind of another like 10,000 foot level situation, because of his mentality on the topic. Yeah. He's clearly seeing BTC as a store of value. That's obviously what he's comparing it to, because he's taking BTC and Litecoin and saying that this is gold and this is silver, which is what, wait, who?
Jimmy Song.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just starting to throw names out.
Charlie Lee. He did back in the day, where he said that Litecoin is silver to Bitcoin's gold.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what people have been considering it. Even currently, people still do it. And it was really nothing more than a marketing ploy. I mean, it's not. Yeah. There's no other reason to really think of it that way, other than
he literally just
here's a fun way to think about it. I'll attach my wagon to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they kind of approached the technology in such a way that it didn't kind of compete or try to demean Bitcoin, which got it to be able to build with favor amongst the broad cryptocurrency market. and
It's
didn't
like
kind of
don't bite the
alienate it
hand
and
that
split
feeds
it
you.
like a BCH BTC situation.
Yeah.
Because even BCH probably wouldn't have been all that controversial if it wasn't a situation where BCH is constantly pointing at BTC saying, that's going to fail, that's garbage, there's no way that's going to work, you guys are scammers, and the same thing going the other direction. So that creates a divide. Litecoin didn't do that.
I feel like it might have fizzled out, though, if they
The
hadn't done
BCH
that.
BTC divide?
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, all the
whether
other,
or not it would have grown.
all the other BTC chains have essentially, the forks have essentially fizzled
So
out, right?
I disagree only because there were bigger players pushing BCH, and that's kind of shown in Japan right now. There's more businesses accepting BCH than there are BTC. That's largely most likely because what's his face? Guy that we have to talk about way too much lives
Crypto
there.
Jesus.
Yeah. But so he lives there and he's
Roger
pushing
Ver.
it. Roger Ver, yeah.
I could not remember. his
Craig
name.
Wright, Roger Ver. A lot of the bigger names were in that BCH kind of community pushing it.
Yeah.
Big players. The other ones didn't really have that. Plus, it was the first one that did it, and it was the closest to the original BTC split off, where most of the others, other than like gold, where they just changed the mining algorithm, which is still a huge change. To try and eliminate ASIC mining. I'm kind of getting in the weeds here. But anyway, most of them were much more different than BCH was. So I think that that one likely still would have kept relevance. It's just it was a much more atrocious division because everybody was a lot more
Emotional.
competitive and emotional. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess back to where I got on that tangent.
Yeah.
There was no reason for Litecoin to really be considered the silver to Bitcoin's gold. This does show that Mike Novogratz is very much seeing these technologies as that description. Bitcoin is gold and Litecoin is silver. And he's saying that Litecoin is not really valuable in his mind based off of that kind of attribution.
Yes.
I think it's interesting because it shows a divide in thought process between a large portion of what the cryptocurrency market is and what the investment market is, if you want to call it that, kind of the bigger players or the day traders with a large amount of assets and stuff like that. You do tend to see the big traders consider it as a store of value, kind of that easy low-hanging fruit. They want it to be, here's the gold narrative. It's very rarely the currency narrative.
Well, I would say that one of the biggest reasons it's the gold narrative is because when you're in, I guess, the industry or whatever for this long, and literally the mantra is hodl, then it's kind of ingrained to you to hold. And when you're sitting there and you're holding your assets, then by nature it's attributing itself as gold to you, and then that's how you start to see it because your response to market movements is to hold.
Right.
So it's like at that point, it's kind of just they work hand in hand, and it's been ingrained in you.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the reasons he's being influenced in that direction.
This may be unfairly attributing something to him, but I think he's more of a Keynesian versus on the Keynesian side versus Austrian. Because I think that just seeing, at least, and I haven't seen him actually say it, so it's probably not fair for me to say. It's just kind of the feeling I've gotten from all the things he said over time. But it seems as though something pegged with the deflationary like tag would by default automatically have to be some kind of like collectible asset, something like a gold or a Beanie Baby if it's kind of on the low end extreme of his kind of a garbage bubble. But in this case, obviously he sees this as like a gold kind of thing. But you see that, I think, a lot with the bigger traders. And I don't know if it's because a lot of them come from traditional industry and they have a different mindset and they see more of it as something tying in as just an asset, as kind of what it currently is great at.
Yes.
Versus thinking
What
about it as future kind of aspect. But it's really, it's kind of fascinating to see those different mindsets and ideologies on it. Because you can see it kind of in different camps. Like if you're looking to news outlets, or you're looking at Twitter, or you're depending on who you friend on Twitter, I guess, but the general idea of kind of crypto Twitter people, if you're looking at the big investors like Novogratz and stuff like that, you can generally go into it with a kind of an understanding of what their presuppositions are going to be, because that tends to be where they're coming from. And maybe some of that is the fact that there's more money to be made if they continue to see it in a way that fits in the existing structure. Because in the short term, the money is in, okay, let's find out how we can make money off of this without it competing with USD and all this other stuff. Otherwise, we get into a really weird territory where all of a sudden we have a lot of risks, counterparty risks, government risks, all this other kind of stuff.
The SEC and stuff.
Yeah, let's just make money off of it, and that's easy to do if we just consider it a store of value. Whereas other people, the smaller guys getting into it, are more idealistic. Let's see what's the overall thing that it's capable of becoming, what can it encompass, and how likely is it going to be to get there. We'll take larger risks in general because we can kind of do that because we have I guess more upside than downside in that case. And that tends towards the broader scale of things rather than just store value. So, I don't know, it's interesting.
There's definitely a lot of driving, I guess, thoughts behind what you just said. And taking that apart would be fun, but I don't think I should do that on the show. Not necessarily like your thought process, but just in general, like the consensus on why it would be that would be the case.
Yeah, and that's because that's kind of what we're looking into here is like what are people's thought processes and what kind of things that we're seeing there. Yeah. Because I think that's important to try and consider individually. It's also a little bit dangerous because you can never truly understand or know somebody else's motivations.
A lot of people don't even understand their own motivations.
I don't think anybody does if we're really going that philosophical.
Well, I mean, okay, so if we are going there, you could base it on like survivability, you know, like what is your chance of survival, and then like
even then, is that really your motivation? What is you? Because we actually make decisions before we perceive the fact that we made decisions. So I mean, you can take this as far deep as you want to go.
Conversation. That'd be so much fun, but we should not go down that rabbit hole.
But yeah, so we can jump off of that one for now. I just really that was just like a single tweet that just turned into a rant. But yeah, so I thought that was fun. The other thing we have is the Minecraft thing that we found.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool.
To me.
I don't have it pulled up anymore. Can you see who it was that shared that?
Not from this distance, bro.
Darn. It was like Sasquatch, Squatch, something.
I can scroll up, but it'll ruin it. There you go. That's his name.
Okay, well, they can see it. Okay. Yeah, Squatch something, and you can see it on the screen. We're about to play this. This is pretty cool. Do we need to switch? We can leave the audio on because it doesn't have any sound anyway. This is pretty neat. It's about 2 minutes long. This guy has apparently decided he saw the little like cryptocurrency Bitcoin logo guy going in the roller coaster up and down, that little gif, and he got motivated to do this. So apparently he plays Minecraft and he's in creative mode, and he builds he says that he does 1 candle per week, but the limits of the world that I guess he's using make it so that he would limit out at about the $20,000 mark. So whenever we presumably get back there is when he'll stop doing it. But yeah, so he basically every block is $100 change, and he's just modeling out the chart of BTC movement, which I think is really cool.
I actually haven't seen this video. It's freaking awesome.
A lot of effort. Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's playing the creative world, so therefore it's hacks. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, wimp. You know how long it would take to build this in the real thing?
Oh my god, dude. Even in
just
creative,
one creeper would come and just go nuclear and the whole thing would disappear.
And now
somehow it would just magically. Yeah, that was like the 20,000. Now we're just dropping. It was interesting the way he kind of devised the solutions to it too, though, because in big movements, he couldn't just do like one block, one block, one block, one block, and go up. He has to like basically go straight up. Yeah, so he corkscrews it, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is an interesting solution. When you had mentioned the video, I was like, how does he do that? He's doing candles, and I guess he used wool for candles.
Yeah, it reminds me of some of the videos we used to see where people would make calculators or computers basically using just like redstone and stuff like that. This isn't anywhere near as complex, but this is definitely cool and takes a ton of effort.
It is still worthy.
Yeah.
He dropped a sword. Oh no. Anyway,
he'll never get that back. He's in creative anyway.
So you just get
spawn an infinite number of swords in.
Anyway, now that you have your daily dose of 12-year-old video gameplay. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yes. Excuse me. So that was pretty cool. The other thing we've got isn't specifically crypto related, but it would affect cryptocurrency if it came to fruition. I'm gonna preface this with I find it extremely unlikely because it's aggravating, but here it is. Top Democrat proposes annual tax on unrealized capital gains.
I didn't know you were bringing this up.
Yep, going into that one. Okay, I thought we were talking about that one whenever.
Oh, no, I didn't know. This will be fun. No, we don't have to talk about the other thing, but this is funny. I was like, I didn't know what we were talking about on the show.
Yeah, we'll just hit it at like a 10,000-foot view again because I'm not going to go into all the stuff. I find it extremely unlikely that it would come to fruition. It's another approach to figuring out how to tax. Of course, the kind of the Democrat agenda at the moment is trying to figure out how to tax higher income people more effectively so that you can be, I guess, more fair because there's a lot of loopholes for the kind of upper echelon of people. Though I don't really see this helping that because it's still just a tax structure. I'm sure it's going to have all kinds of loopholes in it too, but we'll ignore that for now. But they're trying to figure out more creative ways to tax in order to fund everything that we want to do, whatever.
Yeah.
I hate this. I absolutely hate it. Like, if taxes ever sounded or felt like theft, this is it. Like, to tax my gains, my unrealized gains.
Money you don't even have yet.
Exactly.
Money that you're anticipating.
So where's the solution for people that don't have cash on hand? People that have losses or that the price goes down. Like, there's so many issues with this type of structure that it's almost laughable. I don't even know if it's feasible.
It's not because, okay, you'd have to have like a designated point of, okay, this date, everybody's unrealized gains get taxed or something like that.
Right.
And then when that happens, you'd have to cash out the asset to be able to pay the tax, right? And when that happens, you have a sell-off. And when the sell-off happens, you have a market crash.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and
just
whoever
the first
doesn't
thing I
sell
thought
off first gets screwed by the other guy who sold off first.
And if you have the unrealized gains
lose.
level for taxes from like, you know, that date and you're like the 100th guy to sell,
yeah,
then yeah, you're not going to have as much cash to pay that one tax bill you now owe. So then it's like not only are you losing gains, you're losing principal now.
Yeah, so I think the argument here, they're trying, I think, to focus it on the upper like echelon, like top 1% or whatever of people. So the idea is that it won't affect the little guy, which is kind of the thing that they tend to try to do.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it's going to really work appropriately. But if it's not going to work, it does.
Because like if the bigger guys are selling, then the little guy who owns stocks is also losing value because his stock is dropping in value.
Yeah.
Because it affects the whole market. It's not isolated.
Right.
I mean, but there's, I don't know.
It would be a forced redistribution of wealth is what it would be, but it wouldn't work the way that they think it is. Because basically what we would see happen is at least in my opinion, is a mass exodus from that kind of asset into things that are exempt from that, like real estate. Boom, giant real estate bubble. Doesn't really help anybody. It's actually going to screw the little guy because real estate value is going to go through the damn roof, causing the taxes on the little guy's real estate to go through the damn roof because the value on their house went up. But meanwhile, that doesn't do them any good because the price on every house is going up. So they're paying these taxes on it, a higher tax on it every year, while not getting anything back for it because they go to sell their house to buy another one. The other house has gone up just as much in the meantime. It's just basically, hey, let's make everybody pay more taxes. Let's move the tax bill again to the little guy.
So you would think that, okay, well, I can't afford a house anyway. I rent my apartment. still affects that, because what happens with multifamily properties is another investor comes in and buys the asset, because the investor that owns the asset now is like, well, my property value's gone up, I might as well sell and cash out, right? And so when that happens, another investor comes in and invests at a higher rate. But what happens is sometimes they don't have all the money available. They might have enough for the down payment, and then they get loaned for the rest. So now with the increased property value, they have a loan on that amount with the bank. And then when that happens, they have to increase rent in order to service the loan. So then you still have rental rates increasing on like apartments and stuff like that, even with something like this, right?
Yeah.
When everybody's going into real estate. And maybe it is, a fully, cash out or whatever, and some dude comes in with his cash and completely buys a property. Well, a lot of people don't get to that position unless they're leveraging debt. So that doesn't make sense that they would come in and just dump all their money into a property. They would try to, space it out and try to leverage debt to get as many properties as they can to, see the most gains they can in like maybe different areas by diversifying geographically, because they're not going to put all their money in one location, right? So at that point, you're going to have that loan situation. Then you're going to have rent increases. That's just my opinion, but that's something I see happening as well. So you have the whole housing situation gradually rising, screwing everybody, except for the rich guy.
In my opinion, if you want to help the little guy to have a chance to make more money, stop trying to protect them so damn much.
I agree.
Let them into the market. Let them compete. Don't make them get a $500,000 license so that they can day trade. Like, it's stupid. We're basically trying to force the money out of wealthy, successful people into the pockets of lower income people. But by doing so, we're just taking the money out of their pockets, when in reality, all we have to do is unleash them. Let the people do what they're going to do. Let them try to succeed. Stop getting in their way.
Yeah.
It's insane to me. I just can't see how somebody would actually think that model would actually succeed.
There's a lot of models that get introduced by both sides that just look dumb.
Don't make sense.
And this is just another example of one of those. So, I mean, we're not...
This one's just kind of to the extreme.
Yeah. We're not privy to just one side.
It's just blatantly obvious. Yeah. I think, and what I suspect happened here is they just looked at a spreadsheet, saw that the top percentage, top 1% or whatever, is making like 50% of their income off of capital gains, just getting basically interest on their money, and said, well, we need to be taking from that, but we can't take from that because they just never realized their gains because they don't need to. So how do we get that? Let's start taxing what hasn't been realized.
Yeah.
But there's no thought to the actual broader spectrum of the scenario.
Well, so what happens is, like, when, in my opinion, like when you're in government or something like that, if you're not introducing a bill, then what are you doing there, really? So it's almost like, Congress's
busy
job.
work.
Yeah, it really is. Even if it's dumb, but you introduce something.
you just have to make sure. Actually, that would
happy.
Incentivize making sure that it was really dumb, so that when you're just doing your busy work, it doesn't accidentally get passed and screw something up.
Yes.
Because you're like, I want to make sure this does not actually happen.
But your constituents are like, oh, but he's helping me out.
Yeah.
So he might get reelected. But it's like, but you see a lot of that stuff in government. Because I know, like, when I was in student congress at our university, they were like, hey, try to, come up with a bill or something. And I would be like, well, I don't really see a need for one. Why do I need to do this? There's not necessarily a need for, more stuff necessarily. Like, why would you over-regulate in a sense?
Here's a bill that they should have passed.
Yeah, busy work.
If you're walking on the, like, little area where there's no cars, like, between the buildings and stuff, walk on the right side of whichever direction you're going.
Now, is this Nazi Germany now? Whoa, dude, free country, man. You can walk wherever you want.
No, man. No, that free country, it's a university. There's nothing free about those universities. That's the most hierarchical garbage structure I've ever seen.
They receive a lot of state funding, so somebody could be like, well, my amendment rights.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. That is kind of
no,
funny,
that was a joke.
I mean, that's more efficiency. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
It does annoy me when people are like walking on the wrong side. Like, okay, now I have to dodge you because you've never driven before. Apparently,
it's like you're a butthead.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, yeah. So that's apparently what's going on, and yeah, that was a little bit off topic, but still applicable because that's how cryptocurrency is taxed. Is capital gains.
Oh, yeah.
So if it does pass, it is
long-term.
going to affect cryptocurrency drastically, just like every other capital gains asset. Yeah.
I guess that goes more to maybe thinking about owning Zcash, Monero. Because can you tax what you can't see? Like,
oh, they will try. The government right now just said, "Hold my beer."
NSA, I know you're listening. I don't actually own any of that, so. But yeah. Anyway,
that you know
funny.
of. It's invisible.